Hi, good evening. This is Maureen Perez. This presentation is based on the linguistic landscape based on the Sociolinguistic Assignment 1. The content of this presentation includes an introduction, objectives, methodology, results, discussion, summary, conclusion, acknowledgements, and reference. This presentation is done in the location of Kandy, Dalada Strait, which has a capital of the central province, a historical city with a generation of kings capital, with an area of 1,940 kilometers square foot, with a population of 2.37 million. This study attempts to find out the centrality or marginality of the local language of the Sinhala in Kandy, Sri Lanka, in the linguistic landscape they live in. Kandy, once the central part of the culture and politics of the more religious, is now self-contradicting. Its linguistic ideology it held for the past 3 decades, upholding a linguistic nationalism by paving a way to English, the second language in Sri Lanka, to dominate the public space of the district. This paper proposes to study the linguistic landscape of Kandy district based on the name boards displayed on the main street of Kandy town. This is to understand the implications of the centrality, marginality of the languages in the public space of the Kandy community, and can find out whether there are linguistic and ideological conflicts revealed in the linguistic landscape of Kandy. This study utilizes photographs of the permanently fixed name boards or signboards displayed at the entrances of the commercial or government establishments on the chosen streets of Kandy. Linguistic landscape is the visibility and salience of languages on the public and commercial signs in a given territory or region. The objectives of this presentation is to increase our knowledge and understanding of the world. Since language is universal and fundamental to all human interactions, the knowledge attained in linguistics has many practical applications. Linguistic landscape analyzes the language situation of a certain area of the Dalada Strait in Kandy. Then linguistic landscape analysis is focused on how many and what languages occur on signs in a specific public space. Are the signs monolingual, bilingual, multilingual, and in what ways? That is, what combinations of languages do occur? Are different languages used for different contents and in different domains? In what forms do signs occur? Notice boards, traffic signs, billboards, shop windows, posters, flags, banners, graffiti, menus, t-shirts, Facebooks, Twitter, Instagram, blogs, and websites. What about the language in terms of normativity, orthography, handwriting conventions, lexicon, syntax, literacy level? Official signs such as traffic control, parking restrictions, information and notices. Official signs may be erected directing specific traffic to use a designated lane or designating those lanes to be used by traffic moving in a particular direction regardless of the center of the roadway, or restricting the use of a particular lane to only buses during certain hours or during all hours, and drivers of vehicles shall obey the direction of such signs. A commercial sign is one that displays a message on behalf of a company or individual for the intent of making a profit. It is economic in nature and usually has the intent of convincing the audience to purchase a specific product or service. The summary of the results include multilingual, monolingual, bilingual. Why is the study of linguistic landscape important? Since the linguistic landscape, including marks, signs, guideboard, name of institutions, and announcements, etc., is always bilingual or multilingual. The absence or existence of a language on linguistic landscape can represent the importance or social status of the language in a certain region. With the development of globalization, linguistic landscape is becoming a popular linguistic phenomenon. Linguistic landscape is also developing as a coastal city of Sri Lanka and the important port for the opening up policy shows its advancement in technology and economy. Public science as a kind of linguistic landscape become a common site to build image as a metropolitan. This thesis mainly focuses on public science functions as linguistic landscape and image. What is inner sign? Public science and lettering can be divided into different types according to their design, choice, and arrangement of languages, official status, or pragmatic organization. These different linguistic, graphic, and pragmatic elements contribute to the often complex semiotic constitution of science and therefore offer a rich potential for analysis, especially regarding the implicit meanings and social positioning that are conveyed with science. The following typology of science is not complete, but it gives you an idea of how diverse and complex simple-looking science can be. All example photos originate from the landscape project. Most of the categories we use are taken from the literature. Where necessary or appropriate, we have added our own. If you want to dig into the details of sign typology, you can take these papers, books as a starting point. Sign types. These signs all stand in for the idea of a tree, but they do so in different ways. We generally categorize signs into three types. Iconic signs. Iconics are signs where meaning is based on similarity of appearance. So our drawing of our tree stands in for the notion of tree based on a crude similarity of appearance. Indexical signs. Indexical signs have a cause and effect relationship between the sign and the meaning of the sign. There is a direct link between the two. So a leaf might be an indexical sign. Symbolic signs. These signs have an arbitrary or conventional link. A sign is any unit of language, morpheme, word, phrase, or sentence used to designate objects or phenomena of reality. Linguistic signs are bilateral. They consist of a signifier made up of speech, sounds, more precisely phonemes, and a signified created by the linguistic sign sense content. The relationship between the aspects of a sign is an arbitrary one, since the selection of a sound form does not usually depend on the properties of the designated object. The three purposes of linguistics are the informative, expressive, and directive purposes of language. The informative language function essentially the communication of information. The informative function affirms or denies propositions as in science or the statement of a fact. This function is used to describe the word or reason about. Example, whether a state of affairs have occurred or not, or what might have led to it. These sentences have a truth value. That is, the sentences are either true or false, recognizing, of course, that we might not know what that truth value is. Hence, they are important for logic. Expressive language function reports feelings or attitudes of the writer or speaker or of the subject, or evokes feelings in the reader or listener. Poetry and literature are among the best examples, but much of, perhaps most of, ordinary language discourse is the expression of emotions, feelings, or attitudes. Two main aspects of this function are generally noted: evoking certain feelings and expressing feelings. Expressive discourse qua expressive discourse is best regarded as neither true or false. Example, Shakespeare's King Lear's lament, ripeness is all, or Dickens, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness. Even so, the logic of fictional statements is an interesting area of inquiry. Directive language function. Language used for the purpose of causing or preventing overt action. The directive function is most commonly found in commands and requests. Directive language is not normally considered true or false, although various logics of commands have been developed. How linguistic is important in our daily life. Language is a vital part of human connection. Although all species have their ways of communicating, humans are the only ones that have mastered cognitive language communication. Language allows us to share our ideas, thoughts, and feelings with others. It has the power to build societies, but also tear them down. The summary. Selecting the Malaysian, the article based on the Malaysian linguistic landscape is being identified here. The linguistic according to its policies. Then choose the linguistic landscape like an institute. Cut out banner notices and any visualized information with containing science and analyzing will be undergoing. After analyzing the data and finalizing them, to observe the linguistic language is mainly used in Malaysia. Multilingualism. As an average, I observe that they are mostly commonly used using the language of multilingualism under the country policies. In conclusion, according to my analysis, all shows that Sinhala is prevalent in monolingual, bilingual, and multilingual science. The salience of specific languages in linguistic landscape are closely related to their vitality and even their sustainability in society. I've examined the shop name science displayed. The Sri Lankan government currently adopts a hands-off policy to the language used in shops or institutions named signs. The government gives freedom to the company owners in their identity of sign, design, and code choice. Thus, the language practice in any landscape sign is constructed out of the combination of both government and individual owners. According to my analysis, all shows that Sinhala is prevalent in monolingual, bilingual, and multilingual signs, and also in most signs they are using a company logo or signal before adding the language signs. As per the Sri Lankan policy and regulations, most use Sinhala as the first language and English is used as the second language. Thank you.